surely like to rag Cam Newton on Twitter. I respect his game. And I think that's what Saints fans need to get from this. Respect the man's game. Because he's got game. He may not have Super Bowl winning, put the entire team on his back game, but he's got enough to win consistently. And I think New Orleans has to respect that. As a Saints fan, you have to respect that. Because that's what you have in Drew Brees. So yeah, Drew Brees is a better passer. He's a better game manager. He doesn't have as strong of an arm, but he's certainly more accurate when it comes to deep balls, side routes, in routes, out routes, seam passes. But when it comes to being a winner, Cam Newton's up there with Drew Brees. There's just some players in this league, and in every league of professional sports, where they're winners. They're able to go above and beyond to not only make themselves better, but their teammates around them. And we talk about those guys like, for example, the LeBron James in the NBA. We talk about the Pavel Datsyuks in the NHL, the Sidney Crosbys, the Patrick Kanes, the Dwayne Wades. These guys in other leagues and in ours who are able to not only elevate their play, but elevate the play of those around them. And I really think that is what Cam Newton is. I don't think that's what some other quarterbacks are, including Matty Ice. But we'll talk about him some other day. Cameron Newton is the difference maker here for us, and I think our ability to stop him is lacking. So his injury here, and I said I definitely don't pray for injuries. I pray for health on every player, even if it's the Atlanta Falcons. I don't want a single Atlanta Falcon to get hurt. I don't want a broken leg. I don't want an aneurysm of the brain. I don't want a fingernail snapped for anybody in this league. Sorry if that doesn't make me as strong of a fan as you are on Twitter. But his injury, as severe as I think it is based on his play this year and him sitting out last night's game, and he really didn't want to play that game, it is obviously presents an opportunity that's advantageous for New Orleans to take advantage of. And even if he does come in, he's obviously not going to be himself. Concussions are not something that you just wipe away in a week or 2 weeks. There are lingering effects. It doesn't necessarily mean there's going to be long-term lingering effects, but it's not something that you just overcome. We've seen that with Saints cornerbacks recently. We've seen that with different players around the league. It's just not something that you just get over. It's something that you have to deal with and play through, even as you're being treated by medical personnel. And you saw during the week, if you paid attention to the media, Cam Newton wanted to play last night's game. Had he played, they probably win that game. But he was urged to rest and to watch his health and to sit out. Obviously, he wasn't cleared. He didn't come out on the field. And I think that's the right move. But this is the leader of the Carolina Panthers. This would be like if Drew Brees went down and McCown or, Garrett Grayson had to come in and replace him. It's literally a game changer. So say all that the past 15 minutes to say this. Cam Newton is an elite quarterback in this league. And he could be the difference between the Saints having a chance. I think the Saints win, go to 2-4. I'm sorry, 2-3. And are able to swing the tide, if you will, hopefully getting some momentum to work forward. I know a lot of people on Twitter are disagreeing with me, but I really felt that when Atlanta beat Denver, they moved to the legit side of the team list for me. I thought that would be a game that they lost, imploded, and we started to see them become that 500 team we thought them to be. But that certainly is not the case now, in my opinion. Anytime you can take down the Denver Broncos, which arguably, to me, the best defense in the NFL, they've got the best pass rusher in the NFL right now. Even with J.J. Watt on the field, Von Miller right now might be better than J.J. Watt in rushing the passer. He might not be better as a complete player, as a versatile player, but in rushing the passer, it's hard to argue anybody but Von Miller at this moment. And who cares if they've got some no-name young quarterback? When you've got a defense that good, that's taken several teams to the Super Bowl. And even in this era, I remember the Chicago Bears, and what was it, '06, going to the Super Bowl, didn't win. But on defense alone, that's when they had sexy Rexy Grossman at quarterback. And you can't tell me that Grossman was better than a Simeon. Certainly can't tell me that he was better than a Cameron Newton. So that's what the Saints have to do. They have to win simply for the reason to keep their season alive. Any hopes that they have, and I mentioned it when we started the show, have got to be predicated and centered around winning the division. For one, it guarantees at least one home game, even if they win this division at 8-8. Secondly, at this point, 1-3, a wild card is extremely unlikely. And I haven't looked at the playoff race because who looks at the playoff race at Week 5? But let's go ahead and pull it up for the NFL. Playoff race. Right now, oh, wow, NFL.com does. Okay, there it just was loading up. All right, right now, you have the following teams in the quote-unquote hunt. And that's the Rams at 3-2, Redskins 3-2, Cardinals 2-3, Buccaneers 2-3, Giants 2-3, Lions 2-3, yada yada. Then you get to the Saints. That's 6 teams ahead of us just in the hunt, not even counting the ones that are in the playoffs. Right now, your playoff seeds are as follows. The Eagles are the 6th seed at 3-1, and the Packers are the 5th seed at the exact same ranking. Obviously, reaching that point, those types of level, those win totals, it just seems highly unlikely that 8 teams, and of those 8 teams, 5 have a winning record, are going to collapse to the point where the Saints can make a historic level comeback and reach the playoffs via the wild card. The division, though, with the Falcons at 4-1, and I know it seems crazy for me to say that those teams can't fall and Atlanta can, but keep in mind Atlanta's one team. And Atlanta has shown historically that they are much more likely and very prone to collapsing. They've done it. They did it in 2012. They did it 2010. I mean, they've collapsed recently. They've collapsed with the same quarterback. They've collapsed with Roddy White and Julio Jones. I mean, this is not the late 90s Falcons that went to the Super Bowl. It's just not them. So, I got to watch myself. I talk too much trash about the Falcons, and I can sometimes lose my non-bias that I'm supposed to have. But what are you going to do? Now, let me just give me 1 second, guys. I'm going to try to message and see if Bryan is okay. He has not called back into the show since he cut off, like, at the very beginning. Which is no worry. Everybody knows I can talk all night long when it comes to the New Orleans Saints football. But it's nice to have somebody to bounce off of. And for those of you who are listening out there, please feel free to call in. I don't bite. I'm very nice, I promise. Very sweet. So anyways, I'll wait for him to give me a ring back. And I just found out that Patrick Elliott from Who Dat Warriors will be joining us next week, so I look forward to that. Just got that message in while I was talking to you guys. And let's see, Cam Newton, as it pertains to his injury, I'm looking up to see if he's been cleared to play. And I'm going to look it up. Let's see if it came in today at any time. All right. This came out yesterday. It says Cam Newton did some football-specific work on Monday, an indication he is getting close to being cleared from the NFL's concussion protocol. And Coach Ron Rivera told Lisa Salters of ESPN that he did some running and throwing at the team facility. So that is a positive if you're a Carolina Panthers fan. I think the big thing is, with this being a short week, is he going to be cleared in time to play against the Saints? I mean, and when it comes down to it, if the Panthers were to go 1-5, there's no way to pull out of that tailspin. I mean, to have a winning record, at that point, you'd have to go 8-2. And with the schedule that they have this year, the hardest of the NFC South, that's simply not going to happen. I mean, the odds are much worse than the New Orleans Saints coming back from 0-3 to reach the playoffs. So they have to win this. This is a must-win game for both teams. And I think Cameron Newton's going to feel that, and he's going to want to play. And he probably will suit up. The main question, though, is will he be healthy enough to make the impact he would if he was playing at that NFL MVP level that Saints fans hate to admit that he can play at? Now, in terms of, we've been talking about Cam Newton for so long, but there's some things that the Saints can do, regardless of if Cam plays, that can really determine if they're going to win or not win. And I think I'd probably say 2 players on offense and 2 on defense that'll really determine that for them. The first of those players would be, for me, Mark Ingram. Now, here's why. Mark Ingram is currently on pace. And keep in mind, the first 2 games he was given almost no touches. But he is currently on pace to be over 1,000 total yards. He's on pace for right around 900 yards rushing. And in terms of receiving, which he's been pretty dang solid this year, he's on pace for 500 yards. So you're looking between 1,400 yards out of a starting running back. That's huge. And that's with him not getting the touches he probably should have gotten in the first 2 games when it came to Oakland and New York. The second player, though, and I hate to say this, but it's obvious when we have these young receivers who I still think are extremely talented, and to me probably still the best set that we've had in several years. But we gotta have Coby Fleener step up. There's just no other way to get around it. He has to. You have to split this Carolina defense up the middle with the run and with the pass. That's just their weakness. I mean, their secondary has become, for the lack of a better word, weak. I mean, easily broken. They went from having the number 1 corner in the NFL last year to now having, I'm trying to find words. Let me just pull up the stats for you guys. Right now, I said this is not updated from last night. They're giving up 8.4 yards per pass attempt in their secondary. That is worse than the New Orleans Saints, who are probably the worst defense in the NFL. I think they move up to like 18th when they didn't play a game. But let's do another one, though. Opponent big passing plays, they've given up 11. That's huge. That's for 21st in the NFL. That's pretty bad. They've given up 15 big play rushing attack. That is 6 more than the New Orleans Saints. How about this one? 63.1% of opponents' passes get caught. And with Drew Brees coming in, I expect that to be much higher. They're giving up third downs 40.6% of the time. That's for 20th in the NFL. And their scoring efficiency, they're allowing opponents to score on 34.4% of drives. That's 15th in the NFL. So, I mean, this is not the defense that we lauded last year as one of the best. It looks like Bryan's back. Is that you, man? You had some trouble earlier.
I did, man. My cell phone totally died on me, and I can promise you this, iPhones are a great invention. But once they start to go on the fritz, they are done. Man.
Well, it's cool. You probably wouldn't have liked it. I spent the last 20 minutes really trying to hammer home the point that Cam Newton is much better than Saints fans like to give him credit for. So whether he plays or doesn't play could be the factor that makes us go 2-3 or 1-4.
You know, the odd thing about Cam Newton, man, is that it's almost